Eugene, Springfield, Lane County, Oregon. Support our work. Make a donation at strpod.com. Thank you for listening to Spent the Rent podcast. And now, here's your host, Patty Rose.
Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today is Kayla Reynolds, a dear friend of mine. I've known you since I was in school with your mom. I went to beauty school with her. We're going to talk about a really difficult topic. I had you on today to talk about the loss of your younger brother, Kyle. And so first of all, Kayla, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure of mine to be able to come here and tell my brother's story.
For sure. Sometimes a case gets labeled accidental before the dust even settles. But when the details fade from the headlines and the people in charge move on or get pushed out, the questions don't go away. So today we're going to share the story of 22-year-old Kyle Ledford, your younger brother, the night that he died, the police department that handled it, and the fallout that followed. I'm going to read a timeline, and then I'll kind of have you add to it a little bit. So this is basically what happened was January 5th, 2016, just before 9 at night, Cottage Grove police got a 911 call of a gunshot victim on South 6th Street. When officers arrived, they found 22-year-old Kyle David Ledford with a single gunshot wound. Paramedics tried, but they were unable to revive him. So he passed away then. 2 witnesses were there. Police say that a man who fired the shot accidentally, in their words, was questioned and released while the DA decided if charges were on the table. 10 days later, on January 15th, Kyle was laid to rest. Did I miss anything about the timeline? You can kind of add to, you have a little bit of a witness or a friend of one of the alleged shooters. Is that correct?
His ex-girlfriend.
Okay, so you can talk about that and go ahead and give kind of your series of the timeline.
You pretty much got it.
Okay.
Like really well.
Yeah. Cottage Grove has a culture of imbalanced justice, and this is why I kind of wanted to have you on. The high school football team had a hazing incident with a fellow student, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I don't want to get into the graphic details, but let's just say that it included a broom. Like, it was as graphic as it gets as far as hazing.
They did nothing about
it. And they
It's
did nothing. No
terrible.
charges were ever put towards the students. And the only thing I heard on the news was parents that were concerned about what this would do to the football players. Like they were saying, like, this is going to destroy their lives. I'm like, well, if they did this, then they need to pay for this.
What about the victim? His life is destroyed forever.
Right. And so that's why I kind of wanted to have you on, because like I said, I've known you since I was in beauty school with your mom, Terry, and I knew Kyle. Kyle was your younger brother. You had 3 siblings, counting you. And when I got the news that Kyle had died from an accidental, quote unquote, gunshot, I was just floored. I didn't know what to even think about it. So I kind of wanted to get into the whole story of what happened. Let's talk about the investigation. Interim Police Chief Scott Shepard tells reporters that evidence points to an accident, but he also says charges could range. And this was initially right after he said they could range from negligent homicide or negligent handling of a firearm all the way to involuntary manslaughter. Investigators re-interviewed the witnesses over small discrepancies in their stories, but the shooter's name never made it to the public record. And over the years, no criminal charges have ever appeared in court files. What's your take on the way that the investigation was handled by the Cottage Grove police?
I feel like it was highly mishandled because it didn't seem like they were actually focusing on what happened. It was more so the person who did it.
Right. So they're more concerned, it seems like, with the shooter than they are with the victim.
Exactly.
And I mean, you wanted to let's add to this timeline a little bit. You wanted to add kind of not an eyewitness, but like you said it's the ex-girlfriend
Yes.
and current at the time.
Yeah.
Ex-girlfriend of the alleged shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us what she told you, basically.
She told me that the morning of January 5th that they went up to Eugene to meet my brother and his girlfriend at the time up at Cabela's, and then they went to Olive Garden. On their way back, my brother had traded a car earlier that day, and in the trade was a laptop was included, and the laptop had a password that they needed to get before they were able to access it. And Kyle and his girlfriend and the person who shot Kyle and his ex-girlfriend were at I'm just going to say his name.
Sure.
At Travis's house. And then all of a sudden, my brother's going into town to try to find the title of the car so his girlfriend can get on the laptop. So that's why Travis and Kyle and another one of my brother's friends headed into town to Kyle's house to try to get that.
And then, so Kyle was grabbing the title, was kind of ruffling through papers.
Yep.
And this is where the investigation kind of gets a little bit confusing because there's been kind of misleading reports
Absolutely.
about how the gun was pulled out. It does kind of line up from what I've heard that it could be seen as an accident. But I also just think that there has to be some form of justice when you're talking about losing a life.
Anybody can see that this case was mishandled from the very start.
Right.
Cottage Grove police should have never been the ones investigating this case. The Oregon State Police were the ones that actually showed up on scene first and told the chief of police at the time, Scott Shepard, that they were going to be the ones taking over this case because he was too personally invested in
I mean, that's
because my brother, we grew up in Cottage Grove.
Right.
And my dad coached T-ball with Scott Shepard. And my brother played T-ball with his son. And so there's just way too much personal history there for him to be able to handle that case without prejudice.
I mean, when you know both families and you're doing the investigation, it makes it to where you should recuse yourself because you have emotional ties, like
Absolutely.
you said. And so, that's where they went wrong in the first situation. Keep going with the timeline. So
So Kyle and Travis and his friend Sean arrived back to Kyle's house at about 8:30. And Kyle goes up first, and then Sean and Travis had stayed in his car. And so Sean had to use the restroom, so he went upstairs. And then a while later, Travis ended up going upstairs too. And Kyle was in his bedroom rifling through papers trying to find that title while he was on the phone with his girlfriend at the time. And this is where it gets really fuzzy because, we watched the interview.
We did. We watched the interrogation with both Travis, who was the accused shooter, and Sean, who was the witness, the two people that were interviewed by police. Yep. Obviously, watching Travis, he was hyperventilating. He was thrown up in a garbage can.
Pretending to.
Or whatever, and it was his, and like I told you, not to play devil's advocate, but like he was the one that was facing his freedom being potentially gone. Not that I'm
yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just everybody has their perspective.
Exactly.
So I kind of watched that. Then you showed me an interrogation. I wanted to show it, but I just didn't have the capabilities to make it really smooth.
It's from 2016.
Yeah, so it was on a DVD, and that technology is old. So, but and then Sean, the witness, was a lot more remorseful in the way that he was talking about it. Was a lot more.
He was in shock, like he just saw his best friend die.
Right. So now there's kind of a discrepancy on how the gun came into the scenario.
Exactly.
So talk about that a little bit.
In the beginning of the interrogation where Travis is getting questioned by the police, it's almost like he's going in circles trying to find what the story is that he's supposed to be saying, like the easiest way to get him out of trouble. So he says that initially my brother was the one that pulled out the gun from underneath the bed because it was in a locked gun case. But then he says, well, I don't understand how Kyle could have the gun because Kyle was looking through the paperwork. That doesn't make sense.
He said, like the police said that, or Travis said. So he even questioned his own story.
Exactly. He busted a hole in his own story when he was speaking to the police.
Yeah. And, his family is pretty well connected in the Cottage Grove area. And this is the reason that I wanted to showcase this story and give you a chance to not only share Kyle's memory, and we're going to get to that in a bit, but also just what I see as a trend in Cottage Grove.
Absolutely.
And something that needs to be addressed is that there is an absolute imbalance in justice in what we see, and we're seeing it across the country. And I don't even need to get into that on the federal level, but we're seeing people that maybe have less means that just get no justice.
Yep.
And then you have people with connected families that could get away with literally murder.
Literally,
so
on my brother's death certificate, it says homicide.
Right. And so how is it that could be the cause of death is homicide, and yet no charges were ever filed?
Ever.
He left the courtroom, or the after their interrogation, they gave him
100% free.
So Now let's talk about the changes at the Cottage Grove Police Department. So this fast forward to 2022, the same police chief who handled Kyle's case, Scott Shepard, was suddenly on paid leave, and then Captain Conrad Gagner as well. With by fall, the city's investigation points an ugly picture: racial and homophobic slurs, sexual harassment, unprofessional behavior, and a breakdown in leadership. They're
also
all
taking bribes.
taking bribes. So the list goes on. They their told termination is on the table. So both decided that they would resign in early October. Right in the middle of all of this, the use of force video surfaces showing officers punching a man during an arrest, and it was brutal. It's like a man that was brandishing a sword, like I think it was a wooden one.
It was, I'm pretty sure.
And these guys, I could be wrong on that, but these guys were like beating him. They had him subdued and they were beating him. I saw the video.
You can actually tell that this man is suffering from a mental health crisis.
Right. And so
he's not trying to go out there and hurt the police.
Internal and FBI reviews clear the officers, which is insane. But then the damage to the public trust was already insurmountable. By December, body cams are approved. Use of force reporting was tightened, and training is stepped up. Former Sherwood, Oregon chief Jeff Groth took over as interim, and then in 2023, Corey Chase stepped in as a permanent chief, tasked with rebuilding morale and a trust in the department. Do you think Kyle's case had an impact on the changes made at the department?
Absolutely. There was multiple police that either left or retired early that were on scene at
that were there. And that's kind of an interesting thing. So then after the changes happened and you got new people come in, and so it sounds like over a short period there was 3 police chiefs. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then there was also a change at the DA level, because Patty Perlow was originally who was handling the case.
Correct.
Is that Lane County district attorney?
Yep.
So she also left office.
She did, randomly.
Right. And then talk about like what your experience was with your family dealing with the police department.
Well, the night that my brother was shot, the ex-police chief, Scott Shepard, had made this off-the-wall remark towards my dad about how his son's in college and his son would never be, in this type of situation. So he was downplaying it like my brother was some ignorant person just playing with a firearm. And that's not the case whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we had absolutely no communication with the Cottage Grove police. I had just learned recently, actually, when I was on the phone with my mom, that the Cottage Grove police were present at my brother's funeral, and they patted my dad down
at
the funeral.
What?
Yes. At my brother's funeral, Scott Shepard went up to him and said, "David, what are you packing?" And he's like, "Do you really think that I'm going to do this at my child's memorial service, his funeral? I'm laying him to rest today."
Wow. So, yeah.
They patted him down at the funeral home where my brother's funeral.
I mean, and outrageous. I don't know how to address this, but like, I've known your family a long time. We're really close. I mean, we haven't talked a ton over the last 20 years, but every time we see each other, it's like there's been no time in between, and I have the utmost admiration for everybody in your family. But there's no secret that your parents have lived a checkered life, like that they've I mean, which much like many of us, and so this isn't the case, but I like to use the analogy when I talk about this. It's like, just because somebody's a prostitute doesn't mean they can't be raped.
Exactly.
And so I definitely do think that there's probably a likelihood that the police looked at the 2 families involved and was like, well, these people don't have any power and these people do.
Absolutely.
So the person that has, the person that made that shot him, that family is going to be more protected. And that is the reason that I worry about these kind of stories, because this is an ongoing problem in Cottage Grove. And I don't know if it's changed with the new police chief. I know that in Springfield, when there's issues, we have a new chief, and I'm pretty happy with what I've seen from him. Mm-hmm. But you don't have change overnight, period.
I've tried to contact the new chief of police and I haven't got a call back or anything, because I really think if somebody were to take a good hard look at the evidence, that there could possibly be a way to get justice for my brother. But he's not returning my calls, nothing. Which
is wild. I mean, especially since, you want closure, you want some finality, but no charges were ever brought in any way.
Ever.
So
the guy, he's still able to own a firearm. Which is after you take a life.
Yeah.
Still being able to own a firearm is just crazy to me. It's complete negligence.
So there has been a civil suit filed in January of 2019. your family filed a $4.5 million wrongful death lawsuit against Travis Allen Gates, claiming he was the one holding the gun when it went off, hitting Kyle in the chest. By April, the case moves to federal court in Eugene, and that's where the public trial ended. No open record of a trial, settlement, or dismissal. You've obviously not received a settlement as a family, or is that correct?
My parents received about, it was supposed to be about $20,000, but it ended up being roughly 15 to 10.
And that was from his family or from him?
That was from his grandparents because he doesn't have a job. He didn't have a job at the time.
So $10,000 for the loss of your family. I remember talking to your mom, and I could be fuzzy memory because I didn't think to log it or write it down, but I remember her telling me, like, initially when I had heard, and the first time I saw her after the fact, she said something to the effect of, like, I don't want this kid's life to be destroyed because of, at that time, I think that it was kind of like, well, it was an accident, and like, but then time passes and it could be like 6 hours later and you're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, I lost my son.
Even if it was an accident,
right.
You have to be held accountable for the accidents that you make happen.
Right. So now, have you heard anything more about the civil suit, or is it just dead in the water?
It's done.
Yeah, just not happening.
Nope.
And then the criminal,
they finished it.
Oh, that's true. They settled basically. Yep. So the criminal suit never happened.
No,
the civil suit was way less than gets reported. And I think it's really important for people to understand how, look into tort reform issues over in history. That's a good way to learn about this. But a lot of times they say stuff in the paper or whatever, and they say the family files a $4.5 million wrongful death. And then that assumption gets done. Oh, so they got $4.5 million.
Oh, yeah. I've had people come up to me and be like, hey, well, at least your parents are millionaires now.
Exactly. And then, so you read that headline. I just want people to be mindful that, like, saying that somebody is filing a lawsuit does not mean that means that that's going to be successful, for one. For two, under the Bush administration, they put in a cap on wrongful deaths, like on how much. Look into this. There's tort reform, so you can have a cap, and it could have changed. There's a documentary called Hot Coffee that talks about this, that you basically put a cap on how much for wrongful death cases, and it's like $300,000. So like don't quote me on all this, but the point is that when they say $4.5 million, it is never $4.5 million. You never get the full.
That was like a number just pulled out of the air.
Right. So I used, the trusty Google and investigated a lot of this kind of stuff my own ways. And the information is public record that was what was filed, but that's not what the family receives.
No, not.
And
not
I just think that
all.
It's really important for people. Everybody reads the headline. They're like, oh, I understand the whole thing. So now let's talk about Kyle himself. Kyle wasn't just another name in a police report. He was a skater, a dirt biker, an outdoorsman who pushed to get the local skate park reopened in 2011. He was super connected with the Washington Jefferson Park community.
He loved
skateboarding
and Tactics, the board shop.
He worked stocking inventory and was set to start a new job at Aaron's the very next day after he had died. Friends remember him as someone full of energy, someone who actually cared about making the community better. What would you like to add about how we can remember Kyle?
He was just so full of life and love. The type of person that would, this is a saying that goes around a lot, but he really would give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. I have a text message that I saved, and I'm really glad that I saved it, because he's like, hey, sister, I just drove past your house and I noticed that your lights were on. So I opened the door and turned your lights off for you.
Sure.
So I wouldn't have a dead car.
Right.
And it's been really hard to go on without him, because our family was really close.
Yeah.
And my brother was not only my sibling, he was one of my best friends.
Right.
And my heart, like I always say, I feel like I lost a third of my heart that day.
Sure. Absolutely. And that's what always drew me to your guys' family, is that I was 18 when I met your mom, and I was in beauty school and I was scared. My family didn't live here. My parents moved. And so your mom basically was like, well, we got a whole tribe that you can kick it with.
Exactly.
And come on in.
And that's how my brother was too. He was so welcoming and loving, and he was so non-judgmental.
Right.
And I'm not just saying this because he's gone. I would say this if he was here.
Sure.
He was a 1 in a million type of person. There's nobody that's ever going to be like him in this world.
Yeah.
And he only got 22 years to be here. But the impact that 22 years had on our community and on people is outrageous. The amount of people that come up to me and they don't even know me, and they'll be like wearing a Kyle sweatshirt, a memorial sweatshirt. And, you know, I seen one, I think in Salem once, and
Wow.
it's his funeral procession was well over 200 people.
Wow. And, you know, Cottage Grove is a small town. It's a tight-knit community. And there's kind of fractures. There's definitely different groups and social, like any town. But it is no secret, though, that this town needs to clean up its act when it comes to like balancing out justice. I mean, there's so you can go on Google and you can find a litany of cases that are just absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to get into crazy allegations, but I heard from multiple people that there was an African-American man that was found hung from a bridge
by a belt.
And no investigate. I mean, from what nothing. They're like, oh, that must be suicide.
Wasn't in the newspaper.
Yeah, I never heard about this. And so again, something. Yeah, I mean, and she's one of the people that told me for sure. But like, I just think that this is the kind of stuff that we need answers. Absolutely. We need answers. We need justice. You know, and
see the kid that was found hanging, he was also from a family that came from nothing,
from very little means.
Yep.
And there's some allegations that maybe he had some information that was about the kid Bryson that's been missing for 5 or 6 years or longer. It's like is it 6-7 years, something like that? I saw something the other day. I can't remember how many years it's been. Maybe been 12. I can't remember.
It'll be 10-year anniversary of Kyle's death, January 5th.
Yeah. So the kid, what's his last name?
Michael Bryson.
Yeah. So that kid has been missing, and there was allegations, and I want to get not too in the weeds about that because a lot of that stuff is kind of alleged stuff.
Yes.
So now, what's next for your family? The big questions remain. Was this purely an accident? Was it preventable? Without access to the DA's files or sealed court records, the answers stay locked away. For the people who knew Kyle, real closure still hasn't happened. How has this affected your family? You mentioned that a little bit. I'd like to expand on that. And how do you see yourself moving forward?
It's been so difficult, Patrick, over the last almost 10 years. It's hard to remember life before Kyle died.
Yeah.
There will forever be a before and after.
Sure.
And the memories that came before are fleeting, which is
this can be such a painful thing because, you know, when you lose somebody that's period at all, let alone when it's a violent crime, even if it wasn't malicious or whatever, a gunshot victim, there's so many issues that the family will see because you'll see things like, if say you're being optimistic and then your sister's like, why are you being so cool about this?
Right.
So you can have and I'm not to throw under the bus. That's that
actually happened with one of the kids that my parents took in.
That's what I'm saying. Cause you're looking for people to be upset with to handle the grief.
Yes.
You know, and so you can find anything you need to cling to that pain.
I blamed a lot of things.
I'm sure. And so, I mean, it's not right. I'm just saying that this is how it tears people apart.
Exactly.
You know?
My family it crumbled.
Yeah.
I had to watch my mom not be able to function for years and cry, my baby. How am I supposed to go on without my baby?
Yeah. And I mean, he was the goofball of the family. So it's like, he probably kept you guys out of trouble because he was getting in trouble. No,
he never.
Good trouble. He's a good kid.
He was actually a really good kid. You know, he never drank, never did any drugs. And his drug was adrenaline.
Sure.
He loved to ride dirt bikes. He was a phenomenal skater. He just, any type of like extreme sports, he just loved it.
Yeah. I mean, she showed me pictures. Like he's like 15 feet off the ground. Like he's wild. He was very, very, very good skater. And I'm really proud of the fact that you guys have told me this for 20 years now, that his first skateboard was because I went with you guys to pick it out because I was a little poser skater and he was like, oh, I want to own a skateboard. And so I helped your mom pick out a skateboard for his first ever skateboard. And then within 3 hours, he was much better than I was.
He was doing ollies on. Yeah.
Right. So, so, you know, a single shot, a young life gone, police department that would later implode under its own leadership failures. 6 years later, the story still gets in the gray space between accident and accountability, where justice is promised but never delivered. Yep. What do you want people to know from this story? I mean, and you know, it's like, it sounds like a car purchase where he's trying to find the title. Yep. They go upstairs. You know, when you're handling a weapon, I don't care if it's loaded or not. It should never be pointed in the direction of a person.
Never. And Travis knew this because he was raised around guns, and it says it in the interview too. He's like, I'm not stupid. I know how to use a firearm. Okay. That shows that he knew how to safely handle a gun. Why was it pointing at my brother?
Right.
Also, there's discrepancies because Travis will say that my brother took the gun out because it was in a locked gun case. I should bring that up. It was in a locked gun case and underneath the bed. And Travis says my brother pulled the gun out. The other person, Sean, in the interview, it says that Travis pulled the gun out. And I don't know why they would even pull the gun out to begin with, because it was bought as a Christmas present and they had already seen it, already went shooting, tested it out. And my brother was a very, very safe person when it came to firearms. We were raised around them.
Sure. I mean, that's pretty typical for being kind of, I don't know if you'd say it's more rural, just Oregon in general, but definitely Cottage Grove, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is he states that his friend Travis states that Sean had looked at the gun and then handed it to Travis. Sean says that he was looking at the clip and he was trying to get the bullet in the clip because Sean wasn't well versed with firearms.
Sure.
But he didn't touch the gun whatsoever. Travis had picked it up. He racked the gun and he supposedly said he didn't see a bullet in the chamber because the clip wasn't inserted in the gun. So what he did is he racked the gun, which then, got the bullet ready to go through the chamber. He said his thumb, his thumb,
totally.
Yep, his thumb was rested on the safety, and the gun just went off. But the gun that shot my brother and killed him was a gun that was brand new from Cabela's. There was absolutely no issues with how it was functioning. And also the gun had this weird safety mechanism where to pull the trigger, you click it, you pull it and it clicks, but then you have to really intentionally pull the trigger for the gun to actually fire.
Yeah.
Even if it was an accident, you still have to take accountability for your accident.
Right.
If somebody hits somebody, and they leave, even if they don't leave the scene, if somebody hits somebody, they're at least going to get a ticket.
Sure. I mean, and that's what I was going to ask. When we did this episode, I reached out to you, and we have kept in contact over the last 20 years, and you just told me I hope you're okay with me sharing this, but just how down you felt. And you're just like, I feel like you have a family, but some days it feels like your personal journey and your personal purpose is just lost, and you just don't even know what to do.
It does.
Yeah. So the reason that I wanted to do this, because I wanted to get a chance for you to share your story, first of all, and so that we can give Kyle, at least some respect to keep his story alive 6 years later.
I promised him the day that we laid him to rest that I would not quit talking about
right.
him.
And so
I would not quit telling his story till someone listened.
Sure. And I just I guess we don't expect, I called this episode Justice for Kyle, but we don't expect necessarily there to be swift anything. I don't even know if we necessarily want to see Travis behind bars, but we do want to see
him taking
accountability and making sure that he can be rehabilitated from this, because regardless if it was intentional, he's affected by this now, that leads to poor choices to deal with the mental health.
Exactly.
So you need people to be checking in on him, and
he's just been able to continue his life like nothing happened. He can still own firearms. He was not cited or ticketed for anything. It just blows my mind. He took a life. And there was no repercussion.
What do you think that if what they're saying is true? Okay. So if what the court case that it was an accidental shooting, what do you think the repercussions should be? I mean, not that it's your place to decide, but it's just, what do you think it should be?
There was another case in Cottage Grove. I can't remember how many years it was, but there was these twin brothers and they were cleaning their guns. And one went off.
Yeah.
And it killed the other twin. That brother, the one who survived, was in prison for it.
Yes. That's
negligent homicide.
Right. I mean, if I would
Travis was negligent by mishandling that firearm, pointing it at somebody. I mean, he could have, like you said, he could have pointed it at the ground, which that's exactly what he should have done.
I mean, you see, when the militarized police, when they're walking, they always have their guns pointed down so that they're not even at their own legs.
what's weird about it is even in his interrogation with the police, Officer Gagner at the time even said when he's racking his gun to check it, it's always pointed at the ground.
Of course.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Travis knew that.
I really wanted to show some of the investigation, the interrogation with Travis, the alleged shooter, but it's
not alleged.
Well, I mean, I got to cover my bases, but it's a DVD, CD DVD, and it's
from 2016.
Yeah, so like the quality, it was kind of skipping. We had a little difficult time, but like, I mean, you can find a lot of information on this case. There's a lot of stuff. It's everything we've shared today is except for the ex-girlfriend's personal testimony of what she was told, which is hearsay. Let's be clear.
Well,
but
she wasn't told it. It was from her perspective.
Oh, she was there until the incident, so she was in the car basically.
No, she was at home with Travis and their daughter.
Sure,
but she also told me that when Travis got home, she asked him about what happened, and he never spoke a word.
That's wild.
That is wild.
How would you not? You just don't want.
Yeah, and I believe her because she's a very honest person and a very kind person who cared a lot about my brother.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
And throughout the whole interview, he doesn't say, "Oh, I accidentally shot Kyle," or "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's worried about my family not liking him or ruining a relationship that he had with my family. What do you think, dude? Of course your relationship is ruined. You killed my fucking little brother.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Well, yeah. So if you'd like to find out more, you can find out more about Kyle Ledford by literally just going on Google and reading stuff. I want to give a shout out to your family, to your parents, Terry and David. They've always been awesome to me. Thank you for doing this. I know that we're going to be brief with this because I mean, it's a pretty tough topic. And it's also like, I mean, that's pretty much the case. I mean, it's pretty simple, that here's a kid that trying to sell a car,
has the world,
turns around, hands. Bam, and then that's the end, and I did see, you showed me some of the crime scene photos and some different things, and it's just
the discrepancies in what he said happened and the position of everything, like the photos that you'd seen where Kyle was, it doesn't match up.
I don't know how he could have grabbed the gun and then had it. I mean, I guess if you I don't understand why it's such a huge issue who had the gun or who pulled it out to begin with.
I mean, it is factual that Travis had the gun because he states that it was in his hands.
Right.
But for the gun to have gone off, he had to have pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
On my brother's death certificate, it states homicide. He should have went to prison.
I mean, I just wonder if that's the case, why?
I don't know.
And
that's what I want to know. And that's why I will never quit until.
So now the DA's changed. We talked about that briefly. How do you plan on going about finding out more information to unseal the DA's files?
Actually, we've been told that there isn't any files that are at the DA's office. Yeah.
Wow.
And Patty Perlow had called my parents a week after my brother was killed and stated that like you said, it's either going to be like negligent use of a firearm or negligent homicide. And we never heard back from her until my grandma and I went to Lane County Courthouse and talked to whoever the DA was in 2017. And all he said is that it's over, it's done. There's nothing to talk about. It was just a tragic accident among friends. And, I do agree. It was a tragic accident. But even accidents could have been prevented.
Sure. And there's different levels. I mean, there's different charges. Like, we're not saying he needs to get first degree murder.
No,
that's not obviously not the case.
I don't think he intentionally killed my brother because in the interrogation, he has so much respect and love for my brother and my family. I can feel that.
Yeah.
And, I do understand that he has to live with this every day. But I also have to live without my brother.
Right.
My kids will never know. My two younger kids will never know who their Uncle Kyle was. And that breaks my heart.
Right. Well, Kayla, thank you so much for sharing this. Is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I just want everybody to know that my brother was an amazing person. And the world was a lot less brighter after he was gone.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for continuing our friendship. And like I said, shout out to your mom, Terry, and your dad, David. And I hope they're watching. because they've always been really kind to me and really thoughtful at a time when I really needed it. And you've always checked in on me to just, how you doing, and I've always kind of felt like we are family, and so when this whole thing happened, I knew I wanted to help in any way I could. Unfortunately, when the funeral happened, I don't know what was going on with my life, but I intended on going, and then when the day came, I just couldn't get myself to go. I was pretty distraught myself, and also just confused.
It was super hard.
Yeah.
I read the eulogy at my brother's funeral, and I have to ask people if I sounded coherent because I don't even remember reading it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot better than you think. Like when that kind of stuff, I know what you mean. It's like an out of body experience, and
it really is.
And those things can be really beautiful, to honor someone's life. But when someone's 22 years old, there's nothing
in the prime of his life. He had, like I said, he had his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah. Well, I would like to thank you so much. Shout out to the memory of Kyle Ledford, Ledfoot, as he was known.
Kyle Ledford.
And
Conquer 14.
Yeah.
That was his Xbox gamer tag that he was obsessed with.
I'm sure he's all about that.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, Kayla, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.